And the recording is underway. Does everybody get something in their ear that says you're being recorded? Yeah, okay. Very good. Okay. Let's do some attendance. It's very nice to see all you, even if you're just represented by a black box. It's still nice to see you. Okay, so Zachary is here.
Yep.
And Anthony, we haven't done Anthony. Okay. Mary is here. Aiden is here. Jez, do not see Jez. Okay, no Jez. I do not see Siobhan. Siobhan here. Okay. I believe I saw Noah. Did I see
Yep.
Noah? Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, Noah. Okay. And Elena, there she is. Joseph I saw, and Katie I saw, Lydia I saw, Vincent I saw, Brandon I saw. Is Chris here? Chris is here, yep. And Sam is here, and Joshua's here, and I believe, let's see, did I see Ethan? I think I saw Ethan, or did I get an email from you? Yep, here. Ethan's here, yep. Okay, excellent. These are the only persons I have missing today. Tell me if you're here. If you hear your name, Anthony, Jez, and Siobhan. Okay, excellent. Why don't we start as we do every day with review, questions, anything you want to know about. Okay, no one has any questions?
I have
Vincent?
one not really specific question.
Okay.
What's
go ahead.
the next Zybooks chapter that we have to do since you didn't post it yet?
Well, we've posted up to chapter 8, correct?
Yeah, so I know at some point you said that we would be skipping some.
Yes. And let's flip over to Zybooks. And I believe that the answer is 12, which we've begun discussing. Correct. Yes. So let me add chapter 12 and as a reading, and we'll just make it due, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. Does that sound good? Yeah, okay, sounds good. All right, so assignments, reading, and chapter 12. And let's make it, let's see, today is the 25th. Why don't we put it Friday, May 6th? And you know that the readings, I'm a bit squishy on. Do as much as you can, as soon as you can, because that will help you in class work. But you do have some grace there where you can, continue. Oh, Jez is here. Continue adding to your score. Now, chapters 1 through 5, no more. Okay, those scores are fixed. But 6 and beyond, feel free to keep adding to your score. It's a big part of your grade. Let me quick record that Jez is here. And good. And Siobhan, hi Siobhan, welcome.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just glad you're here.
Okay.
Let me mark you as present. Okay, you are
Sir,
marked as present.
really quick, my Visual Studio thing, it doesn't
What?
work. My Visual Studio thing, like the one where you write the programs, it
Yeah.
stopped working on me, and I can't like do any, like I can't write anything at all.
Did you run out of space in your computer?
It has a question mark on my on the logo.
May have to uh you may want to have to go to the app store. Well, first delete the app and then go to the app store and reboot the app again, and not reboot, but select the app again. Maybe you'll get
Reinstall it, you mean?
reinstall it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just got done with a test, so thank you.
Yep. Yep. Well, Jez, is that something you could go ahead and do? You're on a Windows machine, right?
No, it's on my my MacBook.
Okay. I've not seen that happen. It's possible that Steve Jobs purposely designed an OS update to screw with you. That we can't discount that possibility. That your identity is on the wall at Apple. But I think that removing the application and reinstalling it will probably be good advice. Okay. All right. I know that my name is on a wall at Apple, so if your name is there too, then I would be in good company with you. Okay. Any other questions for review or what have you? Okay, I have uploaded a file to the class repo. Let's take a look at the class repo. I'll be there in a second, and I'll project it when I get there. So let's see. Where is the class repo? Okay, GitHub. And okay, so I'm here now. Let me project the screen. Isn't it interesting how English will change the meaning or give clues about the meaning of a word by its pronunciation, where its project is one word and project is another, but it's exactly the same word. Okay, if you go to the class repo, you'll see gold.csv. Now, last time we looked at matplotlib, but we had canned data. The data was built into the program. This time, let's together develop a comprehensive program that will read in this data online, not online, but live. Now, there's a lot more data here. I had cherry picked 1 month for each year. This has all of the months. So there are 819 rows in this file. Up to 2018, February. Okay. So one of the ways that you can download this is to click, you see where my mouse cursor is, everybody? Click on raw. And now if you click in the window, you can hit Control A on Windows or Apple A on the Mac. Then copy. Okay, I did a copy. Now let me open up Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to open a directory here. So let me change. Now you saw me select all with Command or Control A. And now I'm shifting in, and then I did a copy, which on the Mac was Apple C or Control C on Windows. And let me share Visual Studio Code. I'm going to create a new file and paste. And then I'm going to save. And it's going into my file where I have the source code. So I'm going to call it gold.csv. Okay, so please do what I just did and show me a thumbs up or a happy face when you have done so. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Sam. And Chris, thank you. Thank you, Brandon. So when we get to about, thank you, Noah. Thank you, Aiden. So Elena, thank you. When we get to about halfway, which we are now, then we'll move on. Thank you, Mary. Okay, everybody else, I give you my appreciation, Zach, and but I'm not going to call it out. All right. So let's scroll to the top and let's take a look at what's in this file. Line number 1 is 2 fields. I know it's 2 fields because there's only 1 comma. And it's this is the heading, obviously.
Sorry to interrupt. So I went into the gold.csv file and raw section. Control A, and then now what other key do I press to put it in the Visual Studio Code?
Just confirming you're on Windows. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you use for copy for the copy and paste?
Control C and Control V.
Exactly. So Control C from the raw with everything selected, and then go into Visual Studio Code and Control V.
Okay.
In a new file. Sorry, I should have said that.
All right. Control C. Control V.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, now I'd like to write this program in a reasonably sophisticated way. So, and you're going to help me. So let's start a new program. And this program will read and plot gold prices since 1950 to 2018. And I need to save the file so that it knows it's going to be a Python file, gold.py. Okay, you know where I'm heading by this point. What should I type here to ensure that main is run only when this program file is the program file that I'm actually executing in Python?
If double underscore name double underscore 2 equal signs, and then in a string double underscore main double underscore.
Perfect. All right. Let's see. Let me add to the comments. Okay, so I'm asking, I want to write this program so that it will take an arbitrary file and try to read it, rather than hard coding the name of the file into the program. So you know, we've seen how to do this. Can somebody help me? The data file. Oh, look at that. I love it when the lines line up on the same column. Okay, so the data file specified on the command line. How do I access the command line, everybody?
argv.
argv, yes, that's correct. Can somebody tell me a little more, somebody else tell me, thank you, Joe. Tell me a little bit more information. How do I get access to argv?
Isn't it from like SYS import RV?
Perfect. From SYS import argv. Okay, so SYS is a giant package. So rather than import all of it, we'll just import support for argv. All right. Let's add another comment. If the command line does not include a file name, print an error. Oh boy, look at that. Same column again. I love that. All right, print an error and exit. All right, so how do we do that? So argv is a list of strings, and it always has at least one item in it. The first item is always the name of the program being run. So if there's a command line argument given, that means the minimum length of argv is going to be 2. So we can detect the error. Oh, maybe we'll put it down here so that main is nice and clean. So how do we determine the length of the argv list? It's a white horse question. George Washington's white. What color is George Washington's white horse? So my question is, how do we determine the length of the argv list?
Oh, sorry.
So if the length of argv is less than 2, we have an error. So we'll print out something informative. Folks, probably the worst, the most frustrating thing you could do is, well, is crash. But the second most frustrating thing you can do to a user is exit without giving them a reason why. So give them some kind of informative answer and then call exit, and exit with -1 is the universal sign of the program did not function properly. So if we call main at all, we know that this will be a debugging, a test. Print argv1. And I'm guaranteed that that is going to work correctly because I did the test here. Let's try that. Okay. And let's test the other way, which is to not give it a command line argument. Must supply a file name. Good. The data file will be a CSV containing 2 columns, date, and I broke my streak, price. Yeah, I'm not gonna monkey with it. I mean, I was doing so well with happening to write lines of the same length. I'm considering editing the text to make it work, but forget about it. So if I'm going to be using a CSV file, is there anything I need to import?
Import CSV.
Thank you, Joe. So this is importing all of CSV. And this was a test line, so I'm going to take that out. What are the steps I need to do to read a file as a CSV file?
I mean, you have to open it first and then read it and then do something with it, pretty much.
Well, open it first, absolutely. Let's see if we can use this fancier way with open of argv sub 1 as the in file colon. Now, in the past, I've demonstrated just this. In file equals open argv1. Now, if you do it this way, when you're done with the file, you have to do a close of in file. But if you do it this way, as soon as we hit the first statement that's not indented to the same level, the file will close. So if I use this slightly more text version, I actually save text later because the file close happens automatically. Does anybody have any questions?
So with the open argv1 as in file, does the newly what'd you call it, variable for the file have to be called in file?
Yes, I'm naming it right here.
Okay.
Okay, it could be any name you want, but the name I chose is in file.
Okay.
Okay, now so okay, so how do we do this part? We have to wrap it as a CSV reader. So how do we do that? Okay,
Can I answer this one?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Can I answer this one, or do you still want me to wait?
Go ahead, Joe. Thank you. You're putting me out of my
Um,
misery.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We could like do another variable like reader and set it equal to csv.reader in file.
Very good. So reader is equal to CSV dot reader. And here I'm going to give it the file to convert to as a CS, not to convert it. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Here I'm giving it the file object in file so that I can parse it as if it were CSV. Okay. Okay, so how would I skip the first line, which is, let's see, there. The first line here is date and price. That's the column headings. So I want to be able to skip that. How do I skip one line? Or better yet, no, let's stay this. I was thinking, chose not to use dict reader. I chose not to use that. Maybe I should use a dict reader. But this is a very simple CSV file. So how do I skip the first line?
Would you use next?
Exactly. That is exactly right. Let's see. Put this here, finally. If I wanted to use dict reader, this next line would not be used. Okay, and that would be next reader. That skips the first line. Now, if I were using a dict reader, the headings that would be used to create the dictionaries. So dict reader reads the first line. So I couldn't skip it because that would be skipping data. But I chose not to use dict reader. Okay, anybody have any questions? Okay, how about we create an empty list? All right, we need two lists. One is the date and the other is are the prices. Okay, how do I do this next part?
We could use a for loop.
Yes, good. For,
So like for line in reader.
yeah, for each line in the reader. Good, and that really does make sense, doesn't it?
Mhm.
So line is a list which should have two members. Make sure this is correct. Skip any line which doesn't meet this expectation. And how would I do that? I need to correct that spelling. Expectation. Okay. I'm reminded, the way I said that, I reminded myself of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Don't know what I'm talking about in the reference or which line I'm referring
The
to?
reference. The reference. Sorry.
Okay, because I mean, people, ever since the 1970s, every person grows up with Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? Anybody not seen it?
I've heard of it.
Never seen it.
Okay. Tim Rice's first movie, Susan Sarandon, Barry Bostwick. It's an insanely good musical. Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a cult phenomenon. Okay. I'm not going to take time out of class. Ordinarily, I'd say this is a liberal arts college. I take my role in liberal arts very seriously. Let's go watch the movie. I'm not going to do that this time. Okay. So how do I do this? I want to skip any line that doesn't seem to have the correct format. Help me, please.
Wouldn't it have to do something with the same way that we did the length of arcv?
Yeah, perfect, Joe. So if the length of line is not 2, it's a bad line. Now, in a for loop, how do you skip? Now, I'll give you a hint. It ends in untinue.
Continue.
Yeah, good one, Elena. Good. Whoops. Okay, so if the line doesn't smell right, then skip it. Remember, you can't trust users and you can't trust data. Garbage in, garbage out. Okay? So if you're writing applications that, I don't know, determine whether or not missiles will be launched, you should check the data. Okay? All right. So if I get here, the line contains 2 items. Okay, so line 0 is the date. That's a string. And line 1 is the price, but that's also a string. Okay, so what do you think I should do next? Well, okay, so. Okay, so help me to do this, okay, everybody? Okay, how can I append the newest date to the list of dates? It's another white horse question.
We could do a dates.append int line 0.
That's right. Append adds to the back of a list, and that will be line 0. And what should I do for prices?
With that line we just wrote, couldn't we call the int function on the line? Because
sorry?
like you said it was a string.
Yes?
Shouldn't we be converting it? Or wait, no, wait, date. No, never mind. Sorry.
Okay. What I'm driving at later is I hope to have the dates along the x-axis.
Yeah, I was just reading it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. What should I do with prices, though? Now, prices is a string, but we're not going to be able to plot it if it's a string. Now, the dates are strings, but I'm going to show you how we can keep the string and plot it correctly. But what about prices? Well, I'm still going to use append, so that much we know. And I have to convert the string to a floating point number. Okay, now Matplotlib will know what the number is reference relative to other numbers. Okay? Okay, help me write the rest of the comment. When we get here, notice where I am indented. I'm outside the for loop. So what comment here?
There are no lines left in the reader.
Correct. The data has been read and the file closed. Now we can start formatting our graph. Okay. So we want the dates in string form to adorn, to label our graph. But the dates themselves aren't really, well, they're informative, but I can't use that to figure out a coordinate. Like, what is the, if it's going to be on the x-axis, what is the coordinate that reads January 5th? Okay, so we need somehow, some way of making numbers, consecutive numbers, out of these strings, so that we'll use the strings only for adornment. So how about x-axis equals a range made from the length of dates. What's that going to have in it? Anybody?
It'll have the numbers 0 through whatever the length of gold.csv is -1.
Good, and that, Joe is exactly right. Those 0 through the length -1 of dates, that I can plot. So now I've got two sets of, whoops, I want to do a plot, but I've forgotten to do something. What have I forgotten to do?
Forgot to import pyplot.
Okay, so Joe, thank you for all of your input, but let's have other people participate after this, okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Yep.
So from matplotlib import pyplot, and this part is optional as PLT. That's just pyplot shorter. It's an alias for pyplot. All right, so PLT dot plot x axis, and what's the y axis? Prices. Now this creates the plot, but it doesn't show it. This shows it. All right, now I've written a lot. Ordinarily, I should have been testing all along. So let's find out if I've made any mistakes anywhere. Oh, well, must supply a file name. Ah, pretty good. Wow, it's amazing that the price of gold was so stable and then something happened. We should try and figure out what the history is. What? Yeah, say?
We can't see the graph on our end.
Oh, sorry. Let's see. I think I will need to do a new share and share my entire desktop.
Yep.
Do you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. Boy, the price of gold was so stable. And then something happened. Well, you know, this is a very nice plot, but it's not really that informative. I don't know when 100 was. So what about our dates? We need to add the dates. Okay, so let's close this. And after we've added the data, we can say plot.xticks. And for every one of these values in x-axis, substitute the string for the dates. Let's see what happens now. Whoa, well, those are the dates. Let's see. Well, what if I maybe zoom in? Is it really the dates? Yeah, okay, let me zoom in some more. Oh yeah, okay, they're really the dates, but I couldn't read them. All right, so how about we zoom out? Is there anything that you can think that we might be able to do that you may have seen on other graphs or charts? Let's try this. How about plot dot, let's see, is there a rotate? No. X rotate? No. Okay, maybe it is here. ROTATION equals 45. Let's try that. Okay, well, something changed, that's clear. Let's make this bigger. And let's play the zoom in trick again. Okay, so now our labels are at a 45-degree angle, which does make it easier to read, but still there are so many values. Okay, but we're going to leave this here for now and move on to other aspects. So we'll come back to this on Wednesday to figure out how we can moderate. Okay, so great. We specified all of the X ticks, but there are so many. Maybe I want to leave out some because this is just too many. And there's a way to do that. Okay. While we're here, let me digress to the Macplotlib website itself. I know I'm not showing anything. I'll do it as soon as I set it up. All right. And now let me show you the screen. Okay. So this is Matplot. You can see the name of the website. It's matplotlib.org. And I'm gonna go through the examples. Oh, cheat sheet would be a good thing to look at too. All right. So you can do plots, you can do scatter plots, you could do bar graphs, stem graphs, step graphs, other stuff. You could somehow draw pictures, maybe tensors, and here, this is from weather. That would be, this is how one depicts weather, wind, I should say. The direction and the number of pips is how strong the wind is. All right. Plots appropriate for statistics. You know, the histograms, box plots, error bars. Do you know even in 2022, Excel doesn't have histograms built in? What? So anyway, you can do histograms in Excel, but it's a pain. Okay, here's a box plot with whiskers showing a range. Error bars, pie charts. Let's keep going. Let's see. This is not at all. This is a brand new website for them. So this is not at all how many graphs you can do. Let's see, plot types, that's this. Examples, here we are. All right, this is what I was expecting. I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see all the lovely styles. And every one of these, if you click, you'll get an actual example of the code. So generally what you'll do is have in your mind what type of graph you want, and then look through here under examples to find the type of graph that you want, and then look at the sample code. So here we can do various line styles, multicolored lines, that's interesting. Maybe we could even use that in this, that after a certain height in the price, it turns a different color. We could look at that. Different symbols for scatter plots. Okay, and then you can have pictures, generate barcodes. Here's wind, as I mentioned. Anybody who does any physics is going to love these. All right, let's keep going. Images, blending with transparency. Then multiple plots on the same graph. So one graph with multiple subplots in it. You can play spirograph apparently. And it just keeps going and going and going. Any geoscience students here? I'm not able to, I bet there is. Let me look at your faces. Any, and your black boxes, any geoscience people? Yeah, okay. So here we are. Geographic projections. And going, stuff relating to statistics. And going. Oh, lots of samples for ways of doing pie charts and polar charts. Polar plot, bar
wow.
graph on a polar axis. Okay, different ways of dealing with text. And going. Then different ways of annotating your plots, different ways of aligning the y-axis, for example, and going. Okay, let's work with color and going and work with shapes. Like let's add some arrows to things and going and going, different styles. There's the 538 style we looked at last time. And going. I'm really trying to prove a point here that Matplotlib contains everything. Oh, and it even does animation. Wow, I didn't know that. So that means it probably can output GIF animations. That is so cool. We could spend an entire semester working on just Matplotlib. Something, it seems also to have a built-in triangulator. Probably a Delaunay triangulator. Just look at this. And isn't this nice that they give worked examples of every one of these? Every one of these is a worked example.
3D plotting? Wow.
Yep, 3D
Yep.
plotting. Look at all the different ways of doing 3D plotting.
Wow.
3D scatter plot.
And I'm a big fan of 3D stuff.
Yep. How far? When does this stop?
MRI?
And
He'll-
special stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even the EEG. Wow.
Wow, this is famous. This one here, this is famous. If you've ever seen the very famous plot of Napoleon's losses as he invaded Russia, that's where this comes from. Extremely famous plot. You've probably seen it. Okay.
Spines? Wow.
I think they meant splines.
Oh.
This is weird. Okay, maybe it's splines. All right, tick marks, all the things you can do with the different tick marks. Formatting date ticks. Maybe we should look at that one. All right, different. Oh, come on, how many are there? All right, and this is how you can, this is very advanced. This is how you would embed Matplotlib in other systems, like the WX Python system. Let's keep going. User demos. So the idea is you look through here and say, oh, I need that. And then you take a look at the source code. Buttons. All right. Being able to lasso data interactively. So let's there's source code, but it doesn't have the actual. If anyone's used Jupyter notebooks, you can download them all as Jupyter notebooks, or download all of the source code as a zip file. So I don't know about you, but I think Matplotlib is absolutely amazing. Let me take a quick.
Math Excel's nothing compared to Matlib. I mean, not Math
Sorry.
Excel. I mean, Excel document is nothing
Right.
compared to Mathlib.
Right. I just want to, here it is. Let me, this is really brilliant use of data to, let's see if we can get this, let's see if we can see this full screen. Oh, poo. No, that's not what I want. Okay. Anyway, what you're seeing here is a graph developed well north of 100 years ago. Let's see. So this person, Minard, was 31 at the time of the Russian campaign, and he developed this graph. Let's take a look at it. It's brilliant, really. So along the x-axis, we've got, what have we got? We've got time. And take a look. This is, once again, Napoleon's losses in Russia. So the width, I can't circle my mouse cursor up and down because that's moving the, oh, how about that? Okay, I got that. So the width of the shape is representative of how many troops Napoleon has. Okay, so at a particular time in the beginning, he started out with all of those troops. Now, when he got back to France, the black line there, that's all. My son only calls when I'm in class. He knows when I'm in class. Can you still hear me? Somebody
Yeah,
say yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a
And-
brief pause though.
Yeah, and of course it's connected to my headphones. So
Ah.
check this out. The width, here's Napoleon entered Russia. He's got that many people. Napoleon left Russia. He's got that many people.
Hmm.
So, but if you think about this, this is a brilliant way of representing time, and not only how many troops, but also because it's got branches, maybe some troops left or came back. This looks like troops rejoined. So as Napoleon was leaving Russia, these troops rejoined, making a thicker line in the flow backwards. I mean, this is just brilliant data science, and it's 200 years old. Wow. That is so cool. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? I'm going to put the code we've done so far onto the class GitHub, and you will be able to capture it all there. And we will also then add to this on Wednesday. So please, between now and Wednesday, your homework is to download this code, download this data, make sure this works for you, and then try to read through it and understand it. So is that fair? Okay.
Sounds good.
It's 3:50 now. There's not enough time left to move on. So I'll end class here now. However, I'm happy to stick around if you have some questions.
I do. What was the name of that website that had a bunch of CSV data on it?
Kaggle.
Okay,
Let's go there and make sure I got the name right. So new share and Safari, and let's see, Kaggle, KAGGLE.com. And there is so much data. Look at that, 50,000 public data sets. And it's broken down by category.
okay.
Finance, linguistics, data viz. Okay, another question, please.
What do you want us to do for Wednesday again?
Okay, I have developed the beginnings of a full application to read the gold history
Okay,
and also to plot it. Yeah, plot it. And what I want you to do is to download the data, which is on the class repo. I think you've already done that, Vincent. And then
Yeah.
I also give me a little while to upload this file to the class repo. You can then download it. And the main bulk of the assignment, which is informal, you won't be graded on it, is to read this and learn what it does and how.
okay,
Okay?
okay. Do we turn it in? Oh wait, you said it's informal.
Yeah, it's informal.
Okay,
Okay, so read and learn.
okay, sounds good.
Okay, anybody have any other questions? Okay. Okay, one more thing, optional. Think about what kind of whiz bang bells and whistles you might want to add to a graph like this. And as we zero in on a finished application, let's see how many of those we can add in. I'm not saying we can add in all of them because you'll probably come up with ideas I've never worked with before. We can try developing it together, but you know, your mileage may vary. Okay. So for example, oh, here's an idea. Let's replace let's add markers to the graph, but they should all be happy faces. I don't know. I don't know if we can do that. I'm sure we could do that, but that might be too much trouble. Okay, everybody, I'll see you on Wednesday. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, and I thank you for being here today.
Have a good
Right.
night, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.